Hi, I am Jennifer Purcell, and welcome to my podcast, Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge, where we will discuss, discover, and learn more about the challenges and triumphs of those with NLD and other learning challenges. I do have a website for this podcast, and it is called livingwithnld.com. I also have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter account for the podcast. They are all under the same name, which is Living with NLD. I also have a YouTube channel for the podcast, which can be found by Googling the title of the podcast, which is Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. I would like to tell you about a nonprofit that I use for my research for this podcast. It is called the NVLD Project, and I use their blog for my research. They are a nonprofit that is based in New York and is trying to get NVLD back on the DSM, and they provide many resources for people with NVLD on their website. I'll provide you with the website for them in the podcast description. All proceeds from the ads on this podcast will be donated towards the NVLD project. Please feel free to explore the other topics on the podcast, and hopefully you will learn something new from them. I hope you enjoy today's episodes. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
All right. How are you?
I'm good. You?
Good. Thank you.
Good. Any questions before we start?
No, I'm just glad that I was able to do something semi-tech related and that you're here and I'm here.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
You know?
All right. So today I am here with Jennifer, and I will have her start by introducing herself, and be interviewing her about her life with NLD.
Great. Okay. Thank you. So nice to be here. Okay. So my name is Jennifer Lerner. I'm a therapist and I work for two organizations as well as in private practice with preteens, teens, and adults, individuals and couples who have neurodiversities, including NLD, ADHD, and Asperger's. And I'm also an adult living with NLD.
Thank you. So, do you know about when you were diagnosed with NLD?
Sure, it's a little complicated because I'm 55 years old. So that diagnosis did not exist.
Mm-hmm.
When growing up, I was diagnosed um, as having a learning disability, very generally, because most people back then with the diagnosis of LD were dyslexic. I was
Mm-hmm.
very clearly not. So I felt like an outcast in the middle of outcasts, so to speak.
Mm.
I never met anyone who was diagnosed with an LD who was not dyslexic. So when I was much, much older, about 28, I came across a very fascinating website and it listed NLD and it had all of what NLD was. And I thought, oh my God, that's me. I've never seen
Mm-hmm.
anyone describing me. And I showed it to my dad and he agreed and said, yeah, that's definitely you. And it felt so freeing to be seen and recognized and to feel like I wasn't alone.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I mean, I remember when I got my diagnosis at 19. it was like a light bulb went off for me too. And for me, I knew why all the things were challenging for me then, and was able to help myself more after the diagnosis. This isn't always easy to answer, but some people can answer it. Do you know what caused NLD or your challenges?
I can suspect. I don't know exactly, but I have some ideas. I was adopted. My birth mother
Mm-hmm.
is into taking psychotropic drugs because she had some type of mental illness. It was suspected
Mm-hmm.
schizophrenia. She also took recreational drugs, so that's possible. And I know I had a lack of oxygen to my brain during
Mm-hmm.
birth, and that there was damage. Reportedly, I read about it to part of my brain.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, for me, I've so I've thought about it because they said I was born with it. And for me, I'm thinking it comes from my dad. My dad was adopted. Um, and back when he was adopted, there wasn't very good records for that. And all we know is that his parents were Italian. Um,
Okay.
and so, but once I learned about NLD and the different characteristics, I couldn't help but see some of them in him. And I know he probably won't get the testing because if it doesn't won't ma- he said it won't make a difference for him at his age, which I can understand.
Yeah, that,
But my mom agrees with me, which kind of helps me, I'm not the only one in my family who thinks that. Um, so that I think for me is probably where it came from. And then my maybe what added to it, because I know sometimes this can cause it. Sometimes if you have head injury,
mhm.
when I was little, probably 3 or 2, I was putting my sippy cup down on our marble hearth, and I hit my forehead on it. And
Oh,
you probably can't see the scar anymore because it's pretty faded, but I cracked open my head and needed probably 19 stitches. Um, and I remember my dad and my aunt, my mom wasn't there, she was out of town, rushing me to the emergency room. They had to hold my head down and my feet down so I wouldn't kick or, lift up
uh,
during the stitches. And that that was pretty intense at that age, I would say.
such a traumatic memory to have.
Yeah. Um, and so I think I don't know if that might have increased it or anything, but when I've looked into what are the causes of NLD, like you said, it could be genetic or it could be something to do with your birth, like maybe you're born prematurely or the oxygen in your brain, like you said, that's probably a good
Hmm.
point for you. Head trauma or emotional trauma.
Sure,
So, yeah, it's, I think they need to do more research into that area, actually.
they definitely do.
Um, so, how do you feel about having an LD? That's a big one.
It depends on my situation. As an adult, it's
Hmm.
here because more or less I can choose what I do. For example, I have severe coordination deficits. When I was in school growing up, it was really hard because I would be required to play gym. I would be required to play on teams. As an adult, I don't have any of those expectations or requirements.
Right.
Work around them if I happen to run into things. For example, I have trouble wrapping gift bags.
Mm-hmm.
So thank them. So I can really kind of make my own accommodations. But for the most part, I don't run into difficulties because I just don't have to do things where my NLD is really, I mean, I don't drive. That's because of NLD.
Right.
Um, but I basically accommodated myself.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely um understand those pieces too. I mean, gift wrapping, I hadn't thought about that one either, but I'm not very good at it either. I've gotten a little bit better, but that's just from watching my mom or watching some of my friends who are good at it. But I try to use bags if it's a oddly shaped object. I'm like, I'm not going to even try to wrap it unless it's square or rectangle, then it's probably easier. Um,
Well, maybe I'll send some of my presents to California then for you.
yeah, maybe. Um, and yeah, I do well, I haven't been driving for a while. But I just I think I mentioned this when we were chatting before. I decided to take a break from driving for because of having um, having had a car accident almost 2 years ago now. Um, but I know for me that was an important decision because it's like I know I'm not giving up. I'm just taking a break.
Exactly.
Um, because giving up would be too easy. And for me, um, I have NLD and chronic migraines, so the migraines also play a part with the driving. Sometimes
Oh, yeah,
I'm in
absolutely.
too much pain to drive,
Oh,
or I'm nauseous, and you don't want to drive if you feel like you're gonna
no,
throw up. Um, so that's part of it for me. Definitely in the visual spatial, and for me, actually, the only reason, well, one of the reasons the car accidents happen is the cars I had were very low tech, no backup camera or automatic braking or stuff like that, like most cars nowadays have. So I
yeah,
know in the future they probably won't happen because I'll have a better one.
that's true. Especially the backup camera, I'm sure is super helpful.
Yeah. I mean, I did get the last car I I got an aftermarket backup camera a little bit later after having it, but that was the only high-tech thing I had in that car. Um, and that was helpful. But it didn't have anything other than that. So you were already talking about some of these, but do you want to go into more about some of the challenges you have?
Sure. Okay. Well, when I was growing up, I had a lot of social skills challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Really have friends. I had incredible parents, especially my mom, way ahead of her time because they didn't have a lot of the interventions they have now. But
Mm-hmm.
she would role play social situations with me. She was also very, very observant because I was her fourth child. So she had seen three kids before and knew how they were kind of supposed to be. She knew I was holding my head up late and walking late and crawling late. So she did a lot of kind of her own interventions.
Mm-hmm.
She got me therapy very early on. She was just a dynamo. She was incredible. And honestly, I don't think I would have the social skills I have now had it not been for her, had it not been for some great teachers, a fantastic therapist I had from 5 until I went to college at 18.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have now sometimes is almost like, explain this. So when I have a friend, and I do have friends, so when I have friends who seem to like me, I almost feel like Sally Field. I can't believe you like me. You really like me. And I still in my head
Mm-hmm.
I have this almost like this syndrome where I'm shocked that people like me.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I'm not a nice person, but because they don't think that I'm too bizarre to be friends with, if that makes sense.
Yes, that does make sense to me. I've had that feeling too. Um, in fact, often I have that feeling. Not so much with friends anymore, but I think I did in college with my friends there because I was homeschooled before going to Berkeley. So it was a big jump for me to go to Berkeley. Um, and so I think for me the social piece was it was different. The only social environment I had before college was my mom's workplace, her church, um, and Girl Scouts, and a martial art group I was in, and a running group. So it was a few groups I was in, but then when I went to college, it was like, whoa, now I have so many different people that I can interact with.
Yeah, it's a huge change.
Yeah, exactly. So I think once, and that was when I found out about NLD as well in college, which I think it was a blessing in disguise, I would say. It made it easier in some ways and harder in other ways for me to socialize. But yeah, I think for me, I noticed what you were talking about when I was getting into dating a little bit, when I was realizing, oh, this guy actually kind of likes me, but I wonder why, because I know I have NLD and I know he doesn't know I have that because I wasn't sure if I should bring that into the conversation yet.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I would find a way of asking about what he likes about me without bringing NLD up. Um, and I think I'm trying to remember the first person I told who I dated who I about NLD. I don't think I told anybody about that in terms of boyfriends until after college,
Hmm.
which was good because I think college was more for me for like, okay, I'm gonna learn more about myself in NLD first,
Right.
or I say more about it to my friends in college, unless they're really close to me.
Hmm.
And because then, it's easier, you know more about it, you can explain it better. Uh,
Sure. It's such a personal thing too,
mm-hmm.
whether you want to disclose it or not. It's really
Right.
business and it's totally up to you who and when and what you want to disclose to.
Yeah, very true. I mean, I still kind of delay it now when I'm with friends or when I'm dating because one of the good points my mom brought up recently was try to have the person get to know you before you give them any labels,
I agree.
which was good because I had I don't know why I had this in my dating profile, but I had in there about that I had chronic migraines and that I was neurodivergent, and I even had that in there about the podcasts, and didn't say what they were about. I just said that I had them. But then I realized, you know what? Let me take out the migraines and the neurodivergent piece because I've worked on it so much, it doesn't really appear that I'm neurodivergent. It's not as obvious as for some people.
Right.
Um, and the migraines isn't that obvious either, other than my glasses, maybe. But I can say those are for blue light
I would
glasses.
not. I would have just thought, okay, I live in California. It's very sunny there. You're wearing sunglasses.
Sure. Yeah, I could have said that too. Um, but yeah, I took those labels out and just left the podcast one in there because that was vague. It just said I have a podcast. And then if they ask about it, I'm like, well, maybe I'll tell you more about it later. It's kind of personal because depends on when they ask about it, how long we've been talking. But it's definitely like you said, it's you feel different depending on who you're with. I agree with
Yeah.
that.
I think it's important to be selective about who we disclose these things to. And dating's super tricky.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I'm an old married lady. I've been married for many years now. I'm very happy, and I have 2 kids. But before that, dating
Hmm.
super tricky. And in dating, as you know, there are a lot of, even people who are not neurodivergent, it's very tricky, and it has
Hmm.
a lot of little decisions and a lot of things that you have to decide that
Yeah.
are just things that are very subjective, you know?
Right.
There's
Yeah.
no real rules to it.
Yeah, you're right. I remember when I was dating, I think it was when I was dating some Indians or some people that weren't American, and I was trying to describe the neurodivergence to them. And it was a little bit harder because they hadn't really heard that term before. Um, and so I tried to use more the word autism because I figured they might have heard that more.
Right.
Um, and that's just because of language barrier, probably.
Yeah.
Uh, but that can also be true for people who are American. I remember who I was recently talking to a friend, an older friend who I have at through where I work, and she hadn't heard of neurodivergence before or neurodivergent, and so I shared with her what that meant, and
Hmm.
she was like, "Oh, okay. I didn't know what that was." And I was like, "That's okay. I didn't know what it was either
It's
until
a fairly new term. I don't think I heard that term until last year.
yeah, until I looked it up
One of
myself."
my own clients was the one who actually told me about it, someone in their 20s.
Mm, yeah, well, that's good. Um, so the next question would be, what was it like growing up with NLD?
Well, I had touched on the social aspect,
Mm-hmm.
touched on the coordination aspects. Also, as a teenager, I developed kind of early, so I looked older than I was, which added another layer of problems for me
Mm-hmm.
because I got male attention that I did not know what to do with.
Mm-hmm.
Embarrassed me. It made me very uncomfortable. I was not ready to date, even though I looked at was ready to date.
Mm-hmm.
So that was difficult. But like I said, I was lucky to especially have a really supportive mom. But nonetheless, things came my way that I was not ready to deal with. I didn't date until college. Um, I did do things that I was good at. Like my mom would try to help me capitalize on my strengths. For example, I sang, so I joined the choir. So I was in musicals, things like that. She let me have voice lessons. She sent me to a special camp where I
Mm-hmm.
felt popular the whole summer. It was an incredible feeling. It was in Pennsylvania. And so I was raised with a lot of positivity and I was bullied in school, which was awful.
Mm-hmm.
But the good part is that I could come home and feel safe. To quote a line from the old 80s show Family Ties, walking into the house was like walking into a big hug.
Mm. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I'm glad you had a supportive family. Because I
I
know
was
that's not
very fortunate. I know many people don't.
right. Yeah, I was gonna say that too. I know that's not always true. For me, yeah, I also have a very supportive family. Like you, my mom is very supportive. And so is my dad and my brother, and my grandma as well. My mom, I remember right after we learned about my diagnosis, she started doing more research about NLD so she could learn more about it. Um, she found a couple books about it and got them and helped me read them and understand them because of having some big science terms in there that I didn't quite get.
Yes.
I think actually, I've talked about them on the podcast before. I think they were the ones written by Michael Murphy. I think that's the author for NLD from the Inside Out. He did two of them. Um, and he has NLD himself, which is makes
Oh,
it
that's cool. I have
even
this now.
yeah, even more worthwhile to read.
Yes,
Um, and his mom actually helped him write the books, which was kind of cool.
that is.
Um, and so um, I remember when I was reading those books, I was like, okay, yeah, this definitely makes sense to me. Um, and I th forget which one it was in, but I remember one of them, he had some role playing in it as well for like job settings or dating settings, and that was helpful because um, I th think I was reading them when I came home from college for the summer, um, in between semesters. Um, and I know for me, before I learned about having NLD, um, I always thought I was different. And at least since high school, I did. And because I was comparing myself to my older brother, Jonathan, and realizing, okay, math is easier for him, so is writing, so is physics or chemistry. And I'm like, and I didn't know why, I just knew it was easier.
Hmm.
And then I realized that I don't think I really realized the social piece and part, but I think I might have realized a tiny bit of it when I was in Girl Scouts because there were cliques, of course. Um, and I was bullied by one of the cliques.
Oh,
Um,
terrible.
yeah. And I didn't even know they were making fun of me until my friend pointed out to me later on, after it happened. And I was like, oh, okay. Because it was just at a concert and I was having fun dancing and they were making fun of the way I was dancing.
Yeah, I didn't realize it easier. Like kids were making fun of me and it went right over my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I didn't get things either. Like I was told, I'm very short now, but I was told for my age until 14. And somebody said, "Where's the flood?" And I said, "Flood? What flood?" She meant like your pants are too short.
Oh,
But I didn't get things like that. There
yeah. I wouldn't have gone that either. Yeah. I definitely wouldn't have gone that. Um, Yeah, and like I don't even remember what they said that was the making fun of me for Girl Scouts now because that was a while ago. But oh, I just remembered an adult experience I had of bullying. Um, I'll make this story short, but I remember when I think this was probably maybe 3 years ago now, maybe more. Um, I was trying to get a new pair of glasses, and I'd gone through the eye exam already, and I was gonna go to Sharp. I have them for hospital, and I was just gonna go window shopping to see what their cost was to compare to Costco, because I usually get my glasses there. And I went in by myself, which was probably the first mistake I made. Um, and then I had I was trying on different lenses. I had the person ring up an order just to see what the price would be. And then I felt really pressured because he was being really salesy and was trying to give me extra things like progressive lenses or transition or stuff
yeah,
like that.
very overwhelming.
Hmm?
It gets very overwhelming.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And it came to the point where I wind up, I had did purchase a pair of glasses when I didn't mean to. Um, and I came home and I told my mom about the experience, and she wasn't she was a little disappointed, but she wasn't mad because she understood that I was
hopefully what you can do with these episodes on this podcast, Living with Invisible Learning Challenge, I would like to challenge you to journal about the episodes and just see what you learn from them. Or you can share about the episodes with your friends and family and see what they can learn from them. And as always, I will post the links to the articles that I use in the description of the podcasts. And please let me know if you know somebody who you think would want to be interviewed on this podcast, or if you yourself would want to be interviewed. Please email me. I have my email on my website, and I also have it pretty much pretty accessible on Facebook and Instagram through messaging as well. So you can get in contact with me in those ways.